Welcome back. I survived 15 game night and all that. This was way more difficult to track everything than Saturday. Saturday might have had one more game, but at least it was spread throughout the day. So we had 7 early games, starting off with Boston in against Montreal. And again, Boston just they find a way to win these games. It's Swayman versus Montembeault, early jump for the Bruins. Delay game call gives the Habs a power play. That's killed off. The shots at 3 minutes are 2-1 for the Habs. And then Candata, his first NHL game in his first shift, he scores from Pizzetta at 3:26. So turnover, and it's in the back of Boston's net. Evans is then denied in close. But at 9:19, it is Frederick who ties the game. He scores that one from Clifton and Pasternak. So 1-1. Power play for Boston, that's killed off. The Habs press with 7 minutes left. But at 14:40, from a sharp angle, DeBrusk buries one. McAvoy and Marchand with the assists there. Birds go back to the power play. That was killed off as well. Not that any of this that we'll get to this. So 2:50 left. There's 2 minutes of 5-on-3 for the Bruins. There's a near miss for DeBrusk. They cycle. That's killed off. And then with 13 seconds left, the Habs get a power play. So we go to the second period with Boston 1 man short. They do finish the kill. We then get a power play for the Bruins. It turns into a 4-on-4. And at 7:16, Suzuki scores from Edmondson. Tips that one in front. And then at 8:24, Montreal gets the lead back. It's Pizzetta scoring from Pitlick and Tierney, and that makes it 3-2, and that was with Swayman out of the net. So Swayman came out, ended up looking bad for him. The shots are 9-4 at the half in favor of Montreal, but Orlov with a nice goal from Lauko at 13:58 ties it up. Bruins then press for the lead, but it stays tied after 2. Third period, early power play for the Bruins leads to a shorthanded goal from Montreal. It's Barron from Evans and Pitlick at 1:09, and it kind of felt like, okay, Boston's not playing their best game tonight. It's not a game that really means anything. But still, you don't like to see a team playing poorly going into the playoffs. Anyways, so that was a rebound that got buried on a rush by Barron. And then Coyle roofs one on a net drive at 8:48. And at 11 minutes, Pasternak gets his 61st. He scores that one from Orlov and Bertuzzi. The Habs would press with 5.5 minutes left. They do end up pulling the goaltender. They are unable to tie it. Boston wins again. They finished the season 65-12-5. Montreal 31-45-6 on the season. Your shots on net in this one: 8-7 Montreal in the first, 13-5 Montreal in the second, 13-9 Montreal in the third. They outshot Boston 34-21. The stats are all wrong on the rest of it. The hits aren't listed properly. They had 2 hits listed. They only had 1 power play for Montreal. And it stopped tracking the game during the second period. So I had all these other games I was tracking. I was using TSN to keep track of who was getting the goals and who had the assists. So Swayman had 30 saves on 34 shots at one end. Montembeault 16 saves on 21 shots. Not the cleanest game Boston's played, but they still get the win, and that's been the case this season. All right, Carolina. So Carolina fixed their goal scoring problem in this one tonight. So it's Anderson versus Lyon. We get a power play for the Canes. That's killed off. The shots on net are 1 apiece at 4 minutes. Pesci has a tip shot, that saved. Jarvis misses one high on a net drive, and then it's Burns who opens the scoring from Aho and Jarvis at 8:21. The Panthers get stuck at 1 shot for a while in this one. Canes press with 8 minutes left. Reinhardt's then denied in close. Panthers press with 6 minutes left. The shots are evening up in the second half as Florida gets some pressure. We then get a power play for the Panthers. That becomes a 4-on-4. Everything's killed off out of that. And so it's 1-0 Carolina after 1. Second period, early. And 1:12 in, Kotkaniemi makes it 2-0. So the Panthers would press to respond to that one. Power play for the Canes, that's killed off. The shots on net are 4-1 Carolina at 9.5 minutes. The Canes press with 9 minutes left. Barkov to Reinhardt, near miss at the net there. Aho has a rush chance that's blocked. Lomberg with a net drive, that's defended. It's 2-0 Carolina after 2, and it looks like they might just bring this one home. But Florida makes it tough. In the third period on their first shot, Barkov scores. That one from Reinhardt and Gudas at 1:14. And then Lomberg ties the game from Gudas at 3:33. First time Gudas has had a multi-point game in a while, but he's there. Panthers press for the lead, but against the flow of play and on a turnover, Burns would score from Drury at 6:07. And then 21 seconds later, it's Jesper Fast scoring from Stahl and Gostisbehere. I got stuck between Ghost and Gostisbehere and almost went Ghost-Despair, but it's Gostisbehere. And so suddenly it's 4-2 for Carolina. Florida fans booing and showing how much they're not happy about it and not happy about the officiating either. Canes press with 8 minutes left, and there's a power play for Carolina. That's killed off. The Panthers get a turn on the power play. That was unsuccessful, and at 17-20 with the goalie pulled, Gostisbehere hits the empty net. However, 38 seconds later, Duclair answers from Eric Stahl and Gudis. So Gudis was his third assist in the game. And then at 18:36, it's Verhaeghe who buries one. So all of a sudden, it's a one-goal game again. However, Aho hits the empty net from Jarvis at 19 minutes, and Carolina wins this one. It ends up being an ugly score of 6-4, but they get their 52nd win, so they're 52-21-9. They do win the Metro. They do draw that number 1 seed in the Metro, and they will be playing the New York Islanders in the first round. Florida, with this loss, they dropped to 42-32-8. They will be playing the Bruins in the first round. So, shots on net are 11-10 Carolina in the first, 13-5 Carolina in the second, 19-12 Florida in the third. Final shots 36-34 for Carolina. Power plays, the Canes 0 for 4, Florida 0 for 2. Hits 31-14 Florida. Anderson saves 30 out of 34. Lyon also saved 30 out of 34 because there were 2 empty netters. So, bizarre game, and there you go. All right, next up, Detroit and Tampa. Well, this was pretty one-sided in the end. Detroit hung in there. They did. They played really, really well in the first period, just couldn't solve Elliott. Elliott really padding his stats in this one tonight to help fix some of his lackluster stats recently. So it's Husso versus Elliott, as stated. Wings press at 2.5 minutes. Not much room for either team, but the shots are 3-0 for the Wings at 7 minutes. And then on their first shot, Tampa Bay scores. It's Killorn from Cirelli and Colton at 7:49. Bolts would press for another, not that they're getting a lot of shots. Wings press at 9 minutes. There was a net feed to Asimont that's a near miss. Tampa Bay comes out of the first period up 1-0. Second period, early jump for Tampa Bay. Killorn has a shot that's blocked. Shots are 6-4 Tampa, 5.5 minutes in. Much better than that first period where they got outshot badly. Bolts press at 8.5 minutes. Chason then has a rush chance that's defended. There's a power play for Detroit. That's killed off. The Bolts rush when it's done. We get some pushing and punching with 8:18 left. We end up with 2 minutes of 4-on-4 as a result. Raymond has a slot shot. That's blocked. Wings press. The Bolts, more shot blocking there. And so it's still 1-0 for Tampa after 2 periods. Third period, power play for the Bolts. Point has a slot shot that's held. Then there's a shorthanded Wallman rush that fizzles out. Puck goes the other way. And right after the power play is done on a rebound, Hagel gets his 30th of the season from Point and Killorn at 7:27. Then there's a power play for Detroit. That's killed off. Shortly after that, Tampa Bay goes back to the power play as well, and they score on theirs. It's Point that makes it 3-0. That's his 50th of the season. I said this last week. It seems like a quiet 50-goal season. Until I saw Point had 49 last week, I was like, oh, right, yeah, he's got 49. Anyways, Kucherov and Sergachev with the assists at 10:47. It just shows how high goal scoring is right now. And then in the empty net, Point gets one from Hagel and Sergachev at 15:59. So he gets his 51st as well. And then at 19:50, it's Asimont scoring from Colton just to make sure they get that no mercy magnet here. They also get the Tony the Tiger magnet there. And Tampa Bay wins this one 5-0. They go to 46-30-6. So they're going into the playoffs on a winning note. For Detroit, 35-37-10. They faded after the trade deadline. But you know what? Now they're in the hunt for the number 1 overall draft pick. That's right. They're in the draft lottery again. So the shots on net are 12-3 for Detroit in the first, 15-14 Detroit in the second, 15-5 Tampa in the third. Final shots are 32-32. Power plays, Detroit 0 for 2, Tampa Bay 1 for 2. The hits 36-22 for Detroit. Husso saves 27 out of 31. Elliott saves all 32 shots at the other end. So, yeah, interesting game, but in the end, pretty lopsided. All right, New Jersey and the Caps. So it looked like the Caps were going to win this, and then Caps are going to cap. So Blackwood versus Kemper, early press by the Devils. Good forechecking by the Devils, but the Caps open the scoring. It's Snively from Milano at 4:36. The Devils look to answer, but the Caps would score again on what was only their third shot of the game. It's Sandin from Backstrom and Ovechkin at 5:59. Ovechkin not on the goal sheet tonight. So the shots are 8-4 at the half in favor of the Devils, but the 5th shot goes in for the Capitals as well. It's Craig Smith. It's a turnover. It's in the net at 10:18. That is his 200th career goal. So kudos to him for getting there. But Howla would answer from Sharangovich and Luke Hughes at 17:06. That is the first NHL point for Luke Hughes. He's in for a good game. But after the first period, it's 3-1. And early in the second, well, the Caps score again. It's Wilson from Jensen and Strome at 1:05. It's 4-1. This one's kind of a laugher, and that would end the night for Blackwood there. However, with the shots 3-0 at 3 minutes, the Devils would press at 5.5 minutes, and you could see the Devils weren't out of this. Shots are 6-2 for the Caps with 9.5 minutes left. There's a power play for Washington. It's killed off. 1 shot allowed. Then we get a power play for the Devils, and they score on it. It's a tic-tac-toe play. Wood gets the goal from Tatar and Mercer at 18:36. The Caps would press in the final minute, but after 2 periods, it's 4-2 for the Caps. Third period, early jump for the Devils, and eventually one trickles in on a break. And it feels like if he'd fired it, it might have actually been saved, but because it just kind of trickles, he actually loses the handle on the puck. It threw everybody off. So Howla gets that one from Bratt and Jack Hughes at 3:17. By my count, Jack Hughes ends the season at 99 points. That's too bad. Then Hamilton scores at 12:23 to tie it from Severson and Boquist. And then to close it out, the Devils are pressing. They're looking for more. So we go to the overtime. Kuznetsov steals one from Meyer. Things get scrummy at the Devils' net. There's a post for Hischier. The Devils get a power play. 7 seconds later, though, the Devils take a penalty. And then at 4:33, just as we're getting towards maybe shootout territory, Luke Hughes gets his first National Hockey League goal. So he's got a goal and an assist tonight. Jack Hughes and Hischier with the assist. So Jack Hughes with 2 points in this one. By my count, that's 99 because he committed today with 97. So the Devils finish the season 52-22-8. Devils fans will take that. For the Caps, the overtime loss drops the record to 35-37-10. The shots on net, 11-8 New Jersey in the first, 12-7 Washington in the second, 12-7 New Jersey in the third. Both teams had 4 shots in the overtime. New Jersey with the shot that matters. Final shots, 34-31 New Jersey. Power plays, the Devils 1 for 2, Washington 0 for 1. Hits 19-16 New Jersey. Blackwood saves 7 out of 11. Schmid saves 20 out of 20 in relief. And Kemper saved 29 out of 34 at the other end. And Kemper, they kept propping up how well he plays when his team scores 3 or more goals. And right away I thought they could be jinxing him here. But anyways, it is the end of the season and strange things happen. Speaking of which, Buffalo and Ottawa. I'm wearing Buffalo in part because I'm sad I will not be wearing a Buffalo jersey for a recap video until October. I'm actually sad about that. I've really enjoyed watching their games. And after the first period, there was so much going on. This was one I had to drop. So it's Sogard versus Anderson. Sabres press at 2 minutes. Stützle has a rush chance to save. The shots on net are 4-3 Sabres, 5.5 minutes in. We get a power play for the Sens. Late cycle. It's cleared out. Killed off. No shots on net for that power play. Skinner then can't bury one in close. The Sabres press with 5 minutes left. We get a power play for Buffalo. Quinn's denied on a rush. That's killed off. It's scoreless after 1. Second period, 43 seconds in. Yoki Haru opens the scoring for Buffalo. Mittelstadt with the assist there. And at 2:45, it is Olofsson, one of the more underrated goal scorers in the league. He scores there from Okposo and Gergensons. However, Ottawa would get a power play not long after, and they score on it at 4:27. It is Stützle from Sanderson and Batherson. So if their last names ended in Erson, they were in on that one. But sadly, they don't have Erson on their team. He's in Philly. Then they tie it. At 6:11, it's Gambrell from Sokolov. So an assist for Sokolov to go with the goal he had the other day. And then they get the lead. At 12:36, it's Giroux from Tkachuk and Stützle. So all of a sudden, Ottawa's just rolling here, right? We then get a power play for the Sabres. That's killed off. So after 2 periods, it's 3-2. Third period. We get a power play for the Sabres, and they score on it. It's Tage Thompson from Skinner and Tuck at 3:03. So Thompson doesn't get to 50 goals, but he's not that far off. And nice goal there, ties up the game. The shots are 4-2 for the Sabres at 6.5 minutes. Ottawa would get a power play. That was killed off. We end up going to overtime. There was only 1 shot in the overtime. That's all that was necessary. It belonged to the Sabres, and they score. It is Mittelstadt. So Mittelstadt had a good game. He had an assist here, a goal here. And Dahlin and Skinner with the assists at 118. Buffalo wins in overtime. They go to 41-33-7. That is 89 points. Good season. For the Senators, 39-35-8 on the season, so they end up with 86 points. And again, for Ottawa and Buffalo, those totals are much better than where they've been at. You have to look at it relatively here, and relatively they're getting better. So the shots on net in this one are 12-11 Buffalo in the first, 13-12 Buffalo in the second. Both teams had 10 shots in the third period. In the overtime, Buffalo had the one. That's all they needed. Final shots 36-33 Buffalo. Power plays, Ottawa 1 for 3, Buffalo 1 for 4. Hits 33-10 Ottawa. Sogard saves 32 out of 36, and Craig Anderson revealed that yes, this is the end of his career. 30 saves on 33 shots. He ends his career with a victory over the Ottawa Senators. Yep, he will absolutely get a career video. And that being said, I need to change boards. Okay, so earlier in the week, I said that Pittsburgh wouldn't lose to Chicago and Columbus. They lost to Chicago and Columbus. At any rate, this was the game between two teams not in the playoffs. So again, I had to make sure that my attention stuck with teams that are in the playoffs. But I mean, it's a brand new Columbus magnet I just put together today, and that's the last game of the season. I'm still putting together magnets and stuff, even though the season's basically done. So it's Jarry versus Hutchinson in this one. Johnson with a near miss on a rush. There's a power play for the Penguins. They score on it. It is Letang from Crosby and Raquel at 4:28. Carter then has a net drive that's saved. The shots are 7-3 Pittsburgh, 7 minutes in. The Pens press are kept to the outside. Goudreau has a net feed that's cleared. It's 1-0 Pittsburgh after one. Second period, 2:12 in. Andrew Peeke ties it from McCowan. So that ties up the game. The shots are 4-3 Columbus at 4.5 minutes. Columbus would get a power play. That was killed off. 5.5 minutes left. The shots are 13-7 for Columbus. Pittsburgh did have some opportunities before that period was out to almost even up the shots, but the score is even at 1 after 2 periods. Third period, shots are 3-1 Pittsburgh at 3 minutes. Then they get a power play and they score on it. At 3:53, it's Gensel from Letang and Crosby. So it's 2-1 Pittsburgh. There you go. They beat Columbus. Well, not really. The rest of the game is yet to go. Columbus gets a power play, killed off. Columbus goes back to the power play. That's killed off as well. The shots at that point are 8-5 for Pittsburgh. So it's not like they're generating a lot, but they get a third straight Columbus power play, and Bemstrom scores on it at 16:35 from, I knew how to say PHI-CHI. I'm going to go with that, but that's the name I'm going to have to work on, isn't it? Svozil, also with the secondary assist there, ties up the game, and so we're going to overtime. In the overtime, much like the game previous that I talked about, we just needed one shot. In this case, it's Johnny Gaudreau that scores from Boquist and Corrali at 1 minute. So Columbus is no longer 32nd in the standings. They go to 25, 47, and 9 with an overtime win over Pittsburgh, who dropped to 40, 31, and 11. Really rough end to the season for Pittsburgh. They, even before the game, they were interviewing them. They're like, we want to go out on a good note. Didn't work out. Shots on net, 13-8 Pittsburgh in the first, 14-12 Columbus in the third. Both teams had 11 shots in the third period. There's 14-12 in the second in favor of Columbus. And in the overtime, Columbus just needed the one shot. Final shots, 36-34 Pittsburgh. Power plays, Pittsburgh 2 for 2. Columbus 1 for 4. The hits, 19-14 Columbus. Jarry saves 31 out of 34. Hutchinson, pretty good story for Columbus. 34 saves on 36 shots. Just that the veteran stepped in there when Merzlikins got hurt, and I think he gave them competent goaltending. So sometimes that's what you're looking for. All right, next up, Toronto and the New York Rangers. So this felt like a playoff game. It really did. And yet at the same time, it kind of felt like these were two teams that, well, this doesn't mean a lot to us, so we don't want to get hurt. So it was Wall versus Halak. Good early back and forth. Shots are 2-0 Rangers at 3.5 minutes. The Leafs press. They're kept to the outside. The Rangers press with 7.5 minutes left. Fox fires one wide. The Leafs clear it out. We get a power play for Toronto. Near miss for Nylander. That's killed off. And Brody's denied in the closing seconds. So after the first period, it's scoreless. Second period, Brody to Matthews, near miss there. And then at 1:38 on a backhander, Kakko scores his 18th of the season from Trocheck at 1:38. Schneider then has a shot that deflects out. The Rangers press at 8 minutes. We have a post for Panarin on a rush. A net feed to Bunting is tipped wide. Schen's denied. Halak holds on there. The Leafs press with 4 minutes left, but it's 1-0 Rangers after 2. And going into the third period, I think the TSN crew, or the Sportsnet crew, I should say, mentioned shutout at least 3 times. At any rate, Kreider's denied early. Not that anybody's thinking, I can get Toronto a goal if I just keep saying they've not been shut out at all this year. So Marner to Bunting, there's a near miss there. Then there's a net feed to Nylander that's picked off. But Liljegren gets his first, and I think they said 18 games, at 3:09 from Kampf and McCabe. So suddenly it's a tie game. They did not get shut out this year. It's the first time since, I think it was 95, 96, they said was, or no, 94, 95 was the last time they didn't get shut out at all, the 48-game season, I think is what they said. We then get a power play for the Rangers, though, and they score on it. It is Panarin. It's a one-timer on a good cycle. That power play is dangerous. Fox and Zibanejad with the assists at 6:26. The Leafs press to respond, and they would get one. It is Nylander from O'Reilly at 7:48. And so it's tied until Noel Acciari scores for Toronto from O'Reilly and Hall at 12:21. With 2:48 left, the Rangers have a power play. Zibanejad has a blast that's held. His blast was about the best that the Rangers had there. That's killed off. The Rangers would tie it late, but no goal. Doesn't count. And in the end, Toronto wins this one 3-2. They go to 50, 21, and 11 on the season. The Rangers 42, 22, and 13 on the season. So, yeah, that record can't be it. Yep, it's 47, 22, and 13. So I usually just go off my preview board, and I guess I read it wrong. Anyways, so for the Rangers, they fall to 47, 22, and 13. But again, this game was just sort of a warm-up. These teams both knew what they were, not who they were playing in the Rangers' case, but they couldn't move up, and the Leafs couldn't move up or down. So the shots on net, 7-5 Toronto in the first, 7-5 Rangers in the second, 12-9 Rangers in the third. The final shot's 24-21 for the Rangers. Power plays, Toronto 0 for 1, the Rangers 1 for 2. The hits, 14-10 Toronto. Walls saved 22 out of 24, and Halak saves 18 out of 21. So, again, good warm-up for Toronto. They're going into the playoffs on a winning note as well. All right, next up, Minnesota and the Nashville Predators. Another game that doesn't really mean a lot, right? Like, Minnesota can't move up past third. So it's Gustafsson versus Saros. The shots are one apiece at 3 minutes. There's a power play for the Wild. Nashville scores shorthanded. It's Jankowski from Barrie and McCarron at 8:02. Preds then finish the kill. We then get a power play for Nashville. That's killed off, but the shots at this point are 7-2 for the Preds. And then Freddie Gaudreau scores from Merrill and Nyquist at 14:19. So he continues this remarkable season he's having. But it only lasts 2 minutes that this one's tied before Nashville gets the lead back. It's Sherwood, who's been excellent lately, from Novak and Evangelista at 16:19. Preds then get a power play. That's killed off, but they're up 2-1 after one. Second period. Shots are 2-0 Nashville at 4 minutes. Strong first half for the Predators, but as the second half gets going, Minnesota ties it. It's Gaudreau from Foligno and Nyquist at 10:46. Gustav Nyquist has been good since returning from injury. Foligno then had a spinorama chance. That's held. We get a power play for Nashville. That's killed off. And the Wildwood press in the final minute. It's a 2-2 tie after two. Third period. Press by Nashville, 2.5 minutes. Jankowski's denied and close. Tomasino has a net drive. That's defended. There's then a near miss by Cody Glass. Rossi's denied on a 2-on-1. The Preds are having turnover issues. Shots are 4-2 for the Wild at 7.5 minutes, in part because of the turnover issues. Barrie has a shot that's kicked aside, and then at 14:04, Nashville gets the lead back. It is Trennan from Parsonen and Sissons. However, they would turn the puck over on their next face-off win, and Minnesota makes him pay. It's Nick Patan with his first of the season, just in time, from Walker and Giroux. So that's Giroux's first NHL point. That's at 14:20, ties the game, and that would remain the score until we go to overtime. Preds control early. The Wild take over, and they set up. Nyquist has a shot that's saved, and then at 2:44, Parsonen finishes it. He scores for Nashville from McDonough and Glass, and so Nashville wins this one 4-3 in overtime. They go to 42, 31, and 8 with the win. Minnesota 46, 25, and 11 with the overtime loss. Your shots on net are 12-5 Nashville in the first, 11-8 Nashville in the second, 10-6 Minnesota in the third, 2-1 Nashville in the overtime, including the shot that matters. Final shots 31-24 Nashville. Power plays Minnesota 0 for 1, Nashville 0 for 3. The hits 26-8 for Minnesota. Gustafsson saves 27 out of 31. Saros saves 21 out of 24. All right. Next up, St. Louis and the Dallas Stars. So St. Louis and Dallas finishing out their back-to-backs against one another. Bennington versus Ottinger in this one. Power play for the Blues. That's killed off. No shots there. Delandry is denied and close. We get a power play for Dallas. That's killed off. Shots are 8-5 for the Stars at the half. In the final minute, Blues get some pressure, but it's scoreless after one. Second period, Heiskanen, net drive. That's blocked. The shots are 2-1 for the Blues at 7 minutes. We then get a power play for Dallas. The Blues cleared out early. The Stars had problems setting up. That's killed off, and it's still scoreless after 2. I kept going back to the game. There really wasn't that much going on. Even from a power play perspective, there was only 4 in the entire game, which is not out of line with what we're seeing in other games either. It feels like there's a lot less being called right now. So third period, early Dallas shots are fired wide, because that's a problem as well at times, is, missing the net. Delandry has a rush chance that's held. The shots on net are 4-0 Dallas at 3 minutes. And at 3:45, after Dodonov hits the post, Johnston buries it. So Johnston with the goal. He's still in the hunt for the Calder. Once the season's officially done, we can take a look at Calder and who might win it. But Johnston's got a really good future, regardless of whether he's a finalist. Dodonov and Ben with the assists at 3:45. Blues press for response. Then there's a power play for St. Louis. Dallas kills that off. The shots are 11-3 for Dallas with 7.5 minutes left. Pavelski's denied from the slot. The Blues press after they pull the goaltender. 57.8 seconds left. There's an icing by Dallas, so St. Louis calls a timeout. Kyrer's denied. They cycle. Krug has a chance that's held with 13.1 left. St. Louis cannot tie it. Dallas ends up winning this one 1-0. So another Tony the Tiger magnet. Dallas goes to 47, 21, and 14, and it means that Colorado's game tomorrow is one they need to win. They can't just get a point. They need to win that one. St. Louis 37, 38, and 7 with the loss. Shots on net are 12-9 Dallas in the first, 10-5 Dallas in the second, 12-11 Dallas in the third. They outshoot St. Louis 34-25. Both teams go 0 for 2 on the power play. Hits 15-11 for St. Louis. Binnington 33 saves on 34 shots. Ottinger saved all 25 shots for, I believe it's his 5th shutout this season and 7th career. I think those are the numbers, but just ridiculous. So Dallas winning to go into the playoffs. All right, next up, Winnipeg and Colorado. So as I mentioned earlier, Winnipeg missing a lot of their top talent tonight. I did not expect them to win. I kind of think they played a little better than I'd expected too. Also, it was announced today that Landeskog will not play at all in these playoffs coming up. We do talking about that a bit in the news video tomorrow and other injury talk as well. So it's Riddick versus Georgiev here. Early jump for the Avs. The shots are 2-0 in their favor, a minute and a half in. We then get a power play for the Jets. That's killed off, 2 shots. Avs are stuck at those 2 shots for a while, but they would get the lead at 13:33. It is Malgin burying a rebound from Eller and Newhook. Then there's a crossbar for Connor as the Jets are pressuring. 2:13 left. Winnipeg gets a power play. That was killed off. 3 shots on that one, but they're all saved. So it's 1-0 Colorado after 1. Second period. At 2:15, Janssen Fialbi scores. That's from Pionk and Dillon. The shots on net are 6-1 Winnipeg, 7 minutes in. So they did give a pretty good fight to Colorado tonight. We then get a power play for the Avs. Byram's denied during that. That's killed off. Then we get another power play for the Avs, and it's a shorthanded goal. It's Stenlund from Barron at 14:59. But during that power play, Colorado then scores to even that and making the score 2-2. It's Rantanen with his 55th, breaking a franchise record. Rodriguez and Taves with the assists at 16-11. So it's 2-2 after the second period. Third period, Stenlund not on the bench for Winnipeg. Connor has a net drive. That's blocked. Lowry's denied, and then Rodriguez isn't. He scores from Lehkonen and Hunt at 3:01. So that puts Colorado ahead. That was on a 3-on-2 rush as well. Power play for the Avs. That's killed off. The Jets then get a power play. That was killed off as well. Eller was awarded a penalty shot. That was saved. Jets press with 2.5 minutes left. They would pull the goaltender, which allows Lehkonen to hit the empty net from Byram at 18:31. So Arturi Lehkonen in return to play tonight looked all right. And the Colorado Avalanche win this one 4-2. They go to 50, 24, and 7. And like I said, tomorrow's game, if they win that, they win the division. They cannot win the division if they only get a point or nothing. If they get a point, they tie Dallas. Dallas wins the tiebreaker. For Winnipeg, they're 46, 33, and 3 with that loss. They will be playing the Vegas Golden Knights in the first round. All right, and now I need to change boards. All right, and now we get to the game everybody is going to be waiting to go to, because of course they will. Philadelphia and Chicago. There was, of course, the reality this was the final game that Jonathan Toews will play for Chicago, and now this summer he has a choice. There were rumors of retirement. He has vehemently denied even saying it or thinking it, so he may very well get signed somewhere this summer. We will see. It's Sandstrom versus Stalock in this one, and it takes 26 seconds for Philadelphia to open the scoring. It is Konechny from Frost, and the shots are 4-0 for Philadelphia 2 minutes into this. And then at 6:21, Konechny scores again from Frost, so it looks like this might end up being a laugher. However, at 7:28, Jujhar Khaira scores from Murphy and Kaiser, and the shots start to even up. And at 9:20, so does the score. Bjork scores from Athanasiou and Mitchell. That's 2-2. There was no scoring in the second half of the period, so that's your score after one. Second period, early jump for the Flyers, and they score. It is Owen Tippett at 46 seconds. The Flyers get a power play not long after, and they would score on it. It is Cates from Konechny and Tippett at 4:22. But the Hawks get a power play. They score on theirs as well. It's Taves from Athanasiou and Seth Jones at 7:40. It's early in the power play, and that one's tipped in front to a huge ovation from the crowd. And all I could think was, please don't take this one back. His last goal got taken back. So, yeah, it was kind of a bit of a crazy little exchange there. Those are the only power plays in the game. That's it. Just one for each team, and they scored on them. Wagner has a rush shot that deflects out. Khaira with a net drive, that's defended. The Hawks press with 6 minutes left. But after two periods, it's 4-3 in favor of Philadelphia. Third period, shots are 2-1 Chicago 4 minutes in. Konechny's denied his hat trick on a rush. Jujhar Khaira has a blast that's kicked aside. Van Riemsdyk's denied on a rush. The Hawks press with 6.5 minutes left. Tkachuk couldn't bury one in close. Just couldn't get it up to a stick in time, but then Athanasiou does. He buries a rebound during the 6-on-5 from Tyler Johnson at exactly 18 minutes. Ties the game. We're going to overtime. In the overtime, the Flyers control early. Tyler Johnson has a shot that deflects out. Dickinson then fires one high. Taves is denied on a break, and if that would have gone in, that would have been like the ultimate finish for him, but he's denied. And then Provorov would score shortly thereafter on a rush of his own at 3:09 from Konechny and Sanheim. So Konechny with 4 points in this one, and that's a pretty good game last time I checked. So your final score is 5-4 for Philadelphia. They go to 31, 38, and 13. For the Chicago Blackhawks, they get a point, 26, 49, and 7. So if you're a Ducks fan, you guys are probably pretty happy I didn't do a video with them on their losing streak, because here you go. They are now 32nd with these results. Shots on net are 15 apiece in the first, 14-9 Philadelphia in the second, 12-5 Chicago in the third. Both teams had 2 shots in the overtime, Philadelphia with the one that matters. Final shots 38-36 Chicago. Both teams were 1-for-1 on the power play. Hits 24-21 Chicago. Sandstrom saves 34-38. Stalock saved 31 out of 36. So, yeah, and I know that's the one everybody's going to want to watch. All right, next up, the Oilers at home against San Jose. Well, yes, that is a new magnet. Thanks for noticing. So it's Reimer versus Skinner in this one. The shots are 2-1 Oilers, 3.5 minutes in, and they would open the scoring. It's Janmark at 4:16 from Ekholm and Skinner. The Oilers then get a power play. They score on that too. At 6:56, it is Draisaitl from Nugent Hopkins and McDavid. They break the tie with, I think it's the 89 team that had the most goals, or 88 team, whichever. They score the most goals of any power play the Oilers have ever had. When you look at the Oilers' history, that's some pretty heady territory there. Shots are 11-5 for the Oilers at 9.5 minutes, but San Jose would score. It's Gregor from Bordelot and Lawrence at 9:44. Noah Gregor, good finish to the season for him. We then get a power play for the Sharks. That's killed off. The Oilers get a power play with 2:08 left. That was killed off too. Just the one shot for the Oilers there. It is 2-1 in their favor after one period. Second period, the Sharks had the only shot on net 3 minutes in. Ryan couldn't bury one in alone. The Oilers press at 4.5 minutes, and then Bouchard buries one from the slot at 5:02. It was a great pass by Draisaitl. Yamamoto with the secondary assist there. Hyman then fires one high on a rush. The shots are 5-3 though for the Sharks with 9.5 minutes left. We then get a power play for San Jose, which leads to Janmark getting his second goal of the game from Ryan at 14:03. And then, just as importantly, the Oilers finish the kill. 3:10 left. The Sharks get another power play. They score on this one. It's Lawrence, who's had a good finish to the season too. Hurdle and Peterson with the assists at 18:48. So after 2 periods of play, the score is 4-2 in favor of the Oilers. So in the third period, there's an early power play for the Sharks. Nurse gets dinged on a shot block. It looked painful. That's killed off, though. The Oilers rush afterwards. The shots on net are 2-1 for the Oilers at 5 minutes. We then get a power play for Edmonton. Kane has a chance that's held. That power play's killed off. 5 shots for that Oilers power play. Janmark's denied and close. Kane was not. He scores at 15:55 from Draisaitl and Ceci. And yeah, the Oilers weren't being denied tonight. They win 5-2. They go to 50-23-9. San Jose 22-44-16. So the Oilers don't get first in the division, but still 109 points is a pretty good season. Shots on net are 14-13 San Jose in the first, 12-4 San Jose in the second, and then 19-3 Edmonton in the third. They were done messing around. Final shots 36-29 Edmonton. Power plays San Jose 1 for 4, Edmonton 1 for 3. The hits 15-10 Edmonton. Reimer saves 31 out of 36. Skinner saves 27 out of 29. So, yeah, and again, entertaining game, sure. Next up, LA and Anaheim. By the end of this game, it was your standard two California teams that hate each other kind of game. We haven't seen much of that this year, though. Not the usual brawly kind of games between these teams. So it's Korpisalo versus Gibson, and 2 minutes and 44 seconds in. Troy Terry scores from Fowler. Shots are 2 apiece 5 minutes in. Kaliev has a wraparound chance that's held. The Kings get a power play. That was killed off. The Kings would have a lot of power plays. We then get a power play for the Ducks. That was killed off as well. The Kings scored, and there was a high stick challenge. Now, the problem I had with it was this. Brian Hayward kept saying, the stick's above the crossbar. The stick's above the crossbar. That only counts as being a problem if the puck goes off your stick above the crossbar directly into the net. Even if the stick's above the crossbar, he deflects it down to the ice and then puts it in. So the only thing that matters with that high stick is, was it above his shoulders? And if it's not above his shoulders, it's not a high stick. And they ruled that definitively they couldn't see that it was a high stick, so it counts. It's Kopitar from Kempe and Roy at 1657. And I just felt like I had to explain that because he kept saying, well, if it sticks above the shoulders, that's only if that deflection knocks it directly into the net. It's because he deflects it above the shoulder, or not above the shoulders, above the crossbar. See, now he's confusing me. But if he deflects above the crossbar and then puts it in from ice surface, it still counts. That's fine. You don't have to keep talking about the crossbar. It does not matter unless that's the direct deflection that leads to the goal. Fowler then has a late blast that's held, but it's 1-1 after 1. That, of course, because that counted, that was a power play, and that was killed off. So it's 1-1 after 1. Second period. Moore has a chance that's held. The shots are 3-0 Kings at 4 minutes. Kings press at 8.5 minutes. There were some go Kings go chants, which it's in Anaheim, but I mean those arenas are right next to each other. Not literally right next to each other, but you know what I mean. They're like, I think 5 miles apart, which with LA traffic takes about 85 minutes. So Arvidsson with a near miss in the slot. There's a power play for the Kings. Kempe has a one-timer that's saved, but he gets the next one. He scores from Doughty and Arvidsson at 10:15. It looked like it was saved, but it was in. So that scored. It was determined that the net was a little bit off. So at any rate, it's a goal. It's fine. And then at 11:04, Moore scores another from Arvidsson. Moore stole the puck, got it to Arvidsson. Arvidsson gave it back to Moore, and Moore finishes it. Arvidsson then fires one wide on a rush with 3:39 left. The Kings get a power play. We then had 54 seconds of 4-on-4. Power plays back and forth, but everything's killed off there. So after 2 periods, the score's 3-1 for LA. Third period, early on, Jones tips one in at 1:27 from Shattenkirk and Terry. Kings get a power play. It becomes 7 seconds of 5-on-3, and then 1:49 of 5-on-3. Eventually, they're going to score, and it's Kempe. He scores his 40th of the season from Doughty and Arvidsson at 7:26. The Ducks then kill off the 5-on-4, and then Zegras would score from Henrique and Terry at 14:51. It was tic-tac-toe on what was a Kings turnover in their own zone. Things get brawly at the benches. We get more punching on the next whistle. Kings come out of that one with a power play. It just got kind of silly late in this one. So that's killed off with 2:04 left. The goalie gets pulled, and Kempe gets the hat trick at 18:21 into the empty net from Kopitar and Roy. So your final score is 5-3 in this one for LA. They go to 47-25-10 with the win. For the Ducks, 23-47-12 with their 13th straight loss to finish out the season. And there you go. So the shots are 13-12 Anaheim in the first, 14-4 LA in the second, 10-7 LA in the third. Final shots 36-24 for the Kings. Power plays, LA 3 for 8, Anaheim 0 for 2. The hits 12 apiece. Korpisalo saves 21 out of 24. Gibson saved 31 out of 35 in his return to finish out the season. All right, next up. Vancouver in against the Arizona Coyotes. So how did this one go? Well, it was Delia versus Vejmelka. I was kind of surprised it wasn't Demko. But at any rate, 2 minutes of 4-on-4, and Pettersson would end up opening the scoring from Hughes and Burrows at 3:53. Zadina close and buried. Nice one there by Pettersson. Got to 39. Sadly, did not get to 50. Canucks press for another, but at 5:08 on the second shot, O'Brien scores from Kesselring and McBain. So suddenly it's a tie game. We then get a power play for the Canucks, and they score on it. It's Garland against his former team from Beauvilliers and Kuzmenko at 8:03. Buries that one far corner. Nice goal. Canucks go back to the power play. They score again. It's JT Miller this time from Hughes and DiGiuseppe at 12:21. That one was through a screen. And then Garland scores again from Burrows and Kuzmenko at 14:16. So Kyle Burrows had 1 assist all season. He had 2 in the first period tonight. And then Boyd would answer at 19:53, buries it from the slot from Keller and Schmaltz. The one thing I noticed with Vancouver, it was kind of similar to Boston, where it just felt like they weren't quite as sharp. And again, you're at the end of the regular season. For different reasons, it makes sense. Boston, the game didn't really mean anything. A lot of guys out of the lineup. For Vancouver, the game doesn't mean anything. And they know that after tonight, they're on vacation. Their season is done. So we go to the second period, power play for Arizona. There was a shorthanded rush by Miller that's defended. Keller has a shot that's saved. That power play's killed off. Coyotes press after it ends, though. Eventually they score at 9:54. It's O'Brien, who had 1 goal in the season. He gets 2 tonight from Kesselring and McBain. So same scoring play as in the first period. Coyotes press with 9 minutes left. The shots on net are 7-1 Arizona with 6.5 minutes left. So not a good period by Vancouver. They did not get another shot in the period either. Power play for Arizona. Schmaltz has a chance to tipped out. That's killed off. Schmaltz smacked a stick on the glass for that. So going into the third period, this is close, and it felt odd that this being close, but it would get closer. Early press by Arizona in the third period. We get a power play for the Coyotes. That's killed off. Shots are 4-2 for Arizona 6 minutes in. Coyotes press at 7 minutes. We then had a fight between Burrows and Brown. Burrows stepping in for a hit on Amon that he didn't like. Canucks with a power play. That's killed off. Canucks go back to the power play. That was killed off as well. Besser with a wraparound chance. That's blocked. The Coyotes press with 3:30 left, and they score. So the Canucks had a chance to get out. They didn't, and the Coyotes make them pay, and they tie it. It's Schmaltz from Soderstrom and Michelli at 16:40. So it's a West Coast game. It's going to overtime. We'll act surprised. Coyotes controlled early. Keller has a shot that saved the Canucks clear, and Garland gets his first career hat trick from Miller and Hughes at 1:19. So Garland, who may end up being on the block this summer, he closes out the season with a hat trick. They win this one 5-4 in overtime. They go to 28-37-7 on the season. For 38-37-7, I should say, on the season. It's 28 wins for Arizona to go with 40 regulation losses and 14 losses in extra time. Shots on net are 16-8 Vancouver in the first, 9-1 Arizona in the second, 10-6 Arizona in the third. Both teams had 1 shot in the overtime. Final shots 28-24 for the Coyotes. Power plays, Vancouver 2 for 4, Arizona 0 for 3. The hits 25-24 for Arizona. Delia saves 24 out of 28. Vejmelka saves 19 out of 24. All right, last game. And this is the last long recap video you guys are going to see until October. So there you go. Brossoit versus Grubauer in this one between Vegas and Seattle. Shots are 2-0 for the Kraken at 2 minutes. I never really thought Seattle would win this one. I just felt like Vegas was going to win this. So pressed by Vegas at 4 minutes. There's a net feed to Kessel. Near miss there. And there were no shots for Vegas 7 minutes in. But at 9:56 on a turnover on their first shot, Riley Smith opens the scoring for Vegas. Kraken look to answer. Seattle presses with 5 minutes left. Eventually they would get one. Schwartz scores from Wenberg and Geekie at 16:20. So after the first period, it's 1-1. Second period, early jump for Vegas. Wenberg's denied and close. There's a press by Seattle at 3 minutes. 4 minutes in, the shots are 3-2 for Vegas. Eichel has a net feed. That's picked off. We then get a power play for Vegas. Seattle prevents a setup. They kill it off. No shots for Vegas on their power play. Kraken then get a power play. There's a near miss for Tolvanen. They cycle. There's a post for Beniers as it comes to an end. Post then leads to Sprong being denied on a fast break not long after. And then there's too many men on the ice. Vegas gets the power play out of that. A shorthanded Tanev rush chance, though, ends up leading to a 4-on-4 for 1:44. So that power play didn't last very long. But during that shortened period where it was actually a power play for Seattle, there was a delayed call. So during that delayed call, Martinez scores what is actually a shorthanded goal, although it was 5-on-5 because they pulled the goaltender there. Barbashev and Eichel with the assists at 12:37. One of the more bizarre shorthanded goals you're going to see. And then Vegas finishes the kill. 2:35 left. Seattle gets a power play. That's killed off. So After 2 periods, it's 2-1 Vegas. Third period, near miss for Roy on a turnover. Barbashev kept Barry one in close. Kraken press at 3.5 minutes. Eichel fires one wide on a net drive. More Kraken pressure, but they're not getting shots. They're not getting to the net. Teams exchange rush chances. Things get pushy on a hold by Brossoit. Delay game call gives Seattle a power play. That was killed off. Vegas employing the trap in the third period. That was some trapping hockey right there. Pietrangelo and Gord almost had a fight. They got 4 minutes for roughing. I think if they just let him go, it would have been a fight. Goalie pull with 2 minutes left. That allows Stevenson to hit the empty net at 19:22. It's not the prettiest empty net goal, but it counts, and it gives Vegas the win. 3-1's your final. Vegas finishes the season 51-22-9. They win the division. They will play Winnipeg and Seattle. 46-28-8. They end up being a wild card team. They will play either Colorado or Dallas, whoever ends up winning the division. Shots on net, 13-5 Seattle in the first, 12-9 Seattle in the second, 7-5 Seattle in the third. Final shots, 32-19 for the Kraken. Power plays, Vegas 0 for 2, Seattle 0 for 4. The hits, 20-13 for Seattle. Brossoit saves 31 out of 32. Grubauer saved 16 out of 18. So Brossoit had a very good game. And now for Vegas, the question becomes, who's the starter in the playoffs? It's a big question they're going to have to answer next week. So there you go. All done. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.